What is the Danish way of parenting?
We sort of summed it up in the book, which is the acronym PARENT.
P is for
Play.
A.
Authenticity.
R.
Reframing.
E.
Empathy.
N.
No ultimatums.
T.
Togetherness and hygge. I always feel like a cheerleader when I'm doing
It's amazing
the acronym.
that you remember all this. So it's been nearly 10 years, but the book is as relevant today as it was then.
Almost more in some ways.
Why did you want to write it in the first place?
When I first met my husband, he's Danish, and we came to Denmark, I was immediately noticing how calm and serene I thought the kids were. I didn't see a lot of yelling or any, basically. And then one day I was reading the newspaper and I saw that Denmark was voted as the happiest country in the world. And as an American, I was like, wait a minute, why don't I know this? For 40 years in a row, they're always in the top 3 of the happiest people in the world. And I just had a light bulb go off because I had felt the difference in myself as a person. I had seen the difference in my kids. And I thought, wow, happy parents make happy kids.
Denmark's obviously an exceptionally different country to the United States. But what are some of the things that you found can leave this country?
The objective of the book was not to recreate Denmark. I know it's different. But just like Italy has great pasta and pizza, and we've imported that in the rest of the world, and we love it, Denmark has some great parenting. Some of the things are something as simple as free play. The most important thing for a child here is to play.
Kids here go to school later than American kids and even learn to read later. Is that right?
Most kids will learn to read by a certain age. Usually it's like 9. What we find is that kids that are pressured, they end up being more anxious and, more stressed out, even if they learn to read earlier, right? Whereas if a child is allowed to learn to read at the rate that's right for them, they're far more self-confident, they have more self-esteem. And what I find they do here much more is because free play is seen as so fundamental, and the skills they learn from free play, like empathy, negotiation skills, critical thinking, collaboration, an internal locus of control, meaning they feel they have control over their life. Whereas kids that are sort of, how soon can you read? Maybe they learn earlier, but then they're more anxious later. Here in Denmark, one of the interesting differences I find is they talk a lot about the difference between self-confidence and self-esteem.
Okay.
So in America and many cultures, we think of these as kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
And here, they kind of make a point to tell parents, tell students that they're different. And the way they describe it often is with a diagram of a tree. So the foliage of the tree is like the self-confidence. So those are the things you can see, and it's the things we can do.
Okay.
So it's like your grades, how good you are at sports, how popular you are, etc. Your self-esteem are the roots. It's the things you can't see. It's how you feel about yourself. And what they find is that it's very important that we nurture both. So what they want is to make sure that you have a strong sense of self and a strong sense of I'm good enough regardless of these leaves, right? And believe it or not, something as simple as play helps foster self-esteem. Play is learning, Mr. Rogers famously said. When you give children space to actually marvel at the leaf of a tree, or soak in nature, or push themselves in risky play, it is teaching them so many skills that we cannot measure. But when they get on later in life, they have such a stronger base of self.
Risky play is one thing that caught my attention with your book and with the philosophy in general. Giving a 2-year-old a knife, is that something, didn't it worry you as a mom? I mean, what about your worries about their safety?
So there's a lot of trust in the child's ability to manage their own risk. They see children as extremely competent. And we're seeing this now in the US now. There's a big push for this. They've done this for many, many, many years here. They believe children are very competent. And they might hit their head the first time, but they'll learn.
What I'm curious about too are external factors and how those are interpreted in Denmark. I mean, the world is a very tumultuous place right now. Climate is something that's talked about a lot in this part of the world too. And how do you think Danes interpret external threats to their children, to their children's future?
I find that they're actually incredibly honest with their children in an age-appropriate way. And I was shocked already when my daughter was little, the books that my husband's family would give us. They'd be talking about death and divorce. I think the approach here is that if it's part of life, it should be part of education because life is not a fairy tale. The irony here is that this is the land of fairy tales, right?
Yeah.
Hans Christian Andersen.
Yeah.
But the real fairy tales are actually very sad. The Little Mermaid in the real version, she dies of sadness. But I read both versions with my daughter and I found she preferred the sad version. It opened up meaningful discussions. It opened up a very real conversation. And again, I think their idea is that the more we prepare kids for real life, the less they're going to topple when they get confronted with real life.
I want to skip to one of the acronyms that are the letters that was most difficult for me to face, which is no ultimatums. This is parenting in practice. This is every day. You want to tear your hair out because the kids aren't listening to you. And all you've got is the, I'm going to take your toy away, or we're not going to go there if you keep doing that. What do you mean the Danes don't use ultimatums?
That's, again, a generalization, but you will find that they just go into less conflict. So sometimes we set ourselves up for unnecessary conflict because I'm the adult, I win, I need to have, right? It's just much more normal for them here to listen as well to the child. And it's not permissive parenting. They have strong boundaries and they have high expectations, but you know, they're also open to, it's not just my way or the highway. Teach respect, be respectful, and you will be respected.
Well, and this ties right into empathy, which is another one of the letters. How does empathy find itself at the core of Danish parenting? Wow,
Empathy is a big one. It is really in the DNA, I would say, here. And it is, you know, I think it's in the education system. It's in the way parents parent. And it's one of those things that I believe is just, has been passed on. So, you know, one of the things I talk about in the book is so much of our parenting practice we inherited from our own parents.
As a parent, we're inundated with information now about parenting. I open my Instagram and it's a psychologist here and, you know, a method here. And I'm constantly terrified that I'm getting this wrong.
Yes.
Obviously, you're giving advice or a perspective on parenting that you've put out there. How do you feel about pressure on parents?
I feel like I'm just the messenger. This is not my method. This is actually taught in universities. It's been conceptualized. This is the sort of Danish approach, and they've been using it. I mean, free play has been considered an educational theory since 1871, I think.
Wow.
It's never gone out of style. Right. And if anything resonates for you, I think if we can change one or two things, like that we want to change from how we were raised or from our culture, that's enough.
Jessica, thank you so much for your conversation today.
Thank you.
Absolutely brilliant. And I look forward to your next project.
Thank you so much.